Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I am coming at you with a Star Citizen video where I'm just going to talk to you. I'm going to share my thoughts with you guys, and really what we're talking about today is some observations I've made of my fellow Star Citizen players, the community as a whole. I have some complaints. I have some gripes, and I have some bitches and some moans and some just some general observations. And I know I'm going to offend some people. I know I'm going to offend some people with what I'm about to say. And if you're one of those people that are offended, then that's too bad, because this is aimed at you. Okay, if you don't feel like you deserve my wrath or whatever, then I'm sorry. But I am going to share this opinion. I know there's a lot of people out there that might have the same opinion. If you don't, that's okay. It's just my opinion. And it's an observation I've made within the last couple of weeks. I've been playing Star Citizen from probably 2014, 2013, something like that. And I don't even remember. I think it was 2014. And usually the community, in my opinion, has always been pretty open-minded. I know there's a lot of complaints going back and forth. There's a lot of like, I'm right, you're wrong, this is the way it should be done, this is the way it should be done. And you'll get that with anything. Anything that you're passionate about, you're going to get different people to talk about it. Okay. But it's bad when one side or the other resorts to bullying of the other side. When one side resorts to name calling, I'm being silly right now, but when it resorts to name calling, what that's doing is there's derogatory thoughts that are happening that cause you to call someone a name. And that means there's something a little bit deeper ingrained in you that needs to be addressed. But we'll get to that in just a minute. All right, this video is mainly about PvP versus PvE. Okay, it's player versus player combat. And I say player versus player combat, but that's not really true. All PvP doesn't have to be combat, because like you could have a race to do a mission, or I could race you. I could race you around the track, and we could. That's PvP, player versus player. Got it. That's not the PvP I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the passive player versus player. I'm talking about the aggressive player versus player. I'm not talking about two people taking the same mission and one guy accomplishing it first and getting paid where the other one doesn't get paid. That's not what I'm talking about. That is PvP, because I am competing against you for the same mission, so that is considered player versus player. But that's not the PvP I'm talking about. I'm talking about the aggressive, I want to engage you in hostile actions, combat. I want to shoot you, okay? And that's, there's a place for that. There is a place for PvP. Okay, and then when it comes to PvE, what I'm talking about is those players that are player versus environment. So what they're trying to do is the majority of their interaction is with the NPCs, the AI, the animal, the wildlife, the world, the economy as a whole in the universe. Okay, so there's two halves of this argument, and this is something that I want to make some bold statements at first, and then I want to start talking about. And this video shouldn't go on too long, but I am very long-winded, and sometimes I'll think of things. I've got a document sitting in front of me that I typed up just a moment ago, just to remind me to tell you in this video. But the very first thing I've got is story missions. Okay, when you're, and we're talking about Star Citizen now, okay? Star Citizen, but I'm pulling a lot of my resources from other MMORPGs, okay? Like World of Warcraft, Lord of the Rings, Elder Scrolls Online, City Heroes, Champions Online, Elder Scrolls. Did I say Elder Scrolls? What's that other one? Star Trek Online, Skyforge, DC Universe Online. You know, I have played a number of MMOs in my gaming experience, right? I've also played a lot of PvP only games like MechWarrior Online, War Thunder. Even though War Thunder does have some AI if you do specific missions, but usually it's matches, players against players. War Thunder. What was the first one I said? Oh, I played World of Tanks. You know, those are all, and MechWarrior Online, and those are all, and what, Call of Duty. That. Yes, there's a storyline version of it, but then there's this specific arena style head-to-head game, right? Okay, that's fine. But those are not, those games that I talk about, those PvP only games are not MMORPGs. Star Citizen is an MMORPG. Okay, so what does that mean? What's the difference between an MMO and an MMORPG? These are the bold statements I'm talking about. MMOs are just massive multiplayer online games. Okay, so if you've got a lot of people playing the game, it's a massive multiplayer online game. That's all that is, right? You can have thousands of people playing checkers, and that would be an MMO. Okay, so if you look at let's use War Thunder as an example. That's a massive multiplayer online game, but it's not an RPG. What makes it an RPG? Here we go. What makes it an MMO RPG? What does RPG stand for? Role-playing game. Okay, not ROLL, not roll the dice or roll with it. That's not what it's talking about. Role, R-O-L-E. You're playing a role, a character. You have a personality, a story. You have a backstory, a background. You have a profession you interact with people using story and emotes and it's just role playing. Okay, that's what an MMORPG is. And I'll use these as an example, like Lord of the Rings. That's an MMORPG. WoW, MMORPG. You're playing a dwarf fighter. Okay, so you have a character. What do? You've got a guild. You guys hang out together. You go on missions and quests. And who do you talk to? You talk to the Elven Queen, and you talk to, the Minotaurs or whatever, right? So you have this story missions that you go on. And that's the one defining thing that makes an MMO an MMORPG. Story. Star Citizen has a huge story, right? So it has, they call it lore. Okay, but that's all that is backstory. Lore is a previous history, right? So Star Citizen has a huge lore, and they've got a team of guys dedicated to making more lore. They're putting lore out like it's going out of style. I mean, these guys, and they're the best. They're the best. I mean, I love their stories. They got great stories. And I assume Squadron 42 is going to be a great story. And I assume that once I get into the MMO Star Citizen, it's going to have a lot of story missions. Okay. So so think of this. Your Star Citizen, the game we're all talking about, is an MMO RPG story. It's not a MMO. An MMO is a multiplayer online game, but almost all of the straight-up MMOs are head-to-head competitions. World of Tanks, War Thunder, MechWarrior Online, Call of Duty, you know, I don't know, Destiny, what are the, For Honor, you know, all these other games are like, oh, what's that? PUBG. That's an MMO, but it's not an MMORPG. You're not playing a character. Yeah, there's no interaction with a quest giver. There's none of that. Pure competition. Okay. Star Citizen is not that. And there is a group of players out there, a group of MMO players, PvP players, that want it to be that. They hope, they dream that it will be that. Okay. It is not that, but they want it to be that. And they will fight for that. And here's where the problem lies. They're aggressive about it. They're vocal about it. Okay, but here let's I'm still in my statements. But let's not get into the why I'm starting this video just yet. Okay, so MMOs, and there's been some sayings that say MMOs have got to have PvP to be successful. That's a lie. That is a huge lie. You do not have to have PvP to be successful. Look at WoW. Look at WoW. What is 99% of that game? PVE. You're going on quests. You're following the storylines. What are they doing? They're coming out with expansions all the time. What are those expansions? New stories. And I would have to argue and say that WoW is probably the most popular MMO RPG in the universe. Okay? I don't personally play WoW, but that's not why. I just don't play that. I'm not a big fantasy. I love fantasy, but something about WoW just bothers me. It's a different type of fantasy. It's like it kind of reminds me of Warcraft, you know, and it's just, that's not my kind of fantasy. I'm more of a Lord of the Rings kind of fantasy guy. Okay, that's why I kind of liked Elder Scrolls, because I thought it was kind of my fantasy, but never mind, we won't get into that. Okay. I told you I was long-winded. So, you do not have to have PvP. Let me back that up. You don't have to be dominated by PvP to be successful. The good MMOs limit PvP. The good MMORPGs limit the PvP. Like, how do they limit it? And why would they limit it? Well, because not everybody likes it, PvP. And when you say everything is PvP, then those PvE players, which is the dominating group of players, won't play. They won't talk about it. They won't express their concerns. They just won't log in. They just won't play. Right? Okay, so I'm going out of order on my notes here. Let me back up a little bit. What is the percentage of players? Now I'm saying, you know, a larger percentage. What is the percentage of players that play PvE almost exclusively? And then what are the players that play PvP almost exclusively? And you can look at a variety of different games, and some of them are different. Some people play certain games because it has good PvP. Some people play some games because it has good PvE and all that good stuff. And there's some variables, and it's hard to really narrow it down. But based on my research, and I've done a little bit of this, 70% of people that play MMORPGs play it because they're excited about the story. They are there. Not every person that plays an MMORPG, not even over half, not even 30%, less than 30% are PvP players. So what I'm going to say is, I'm going to make a bold statement and say, 70% or more are PVE players. They enjoy the environment, the story, the non-interaction. Let me back that up. They love to interact with players. Non-hostile, threatening, direct conflict with other players. Of course I like going to a bar, having an interaction with another player. That's cool. To me, that's story-driven, right? That's all immersive gameplay and all that, right? We come up with our own quests or whatever. That's cool. We team up. We link up. We cooperatively play against a boss or whatever. Raids. You have teams going up against what? Not other players. You're going up against the environment. And they're usually powerful. But I digress. Okay, so some of this research that I've done is directly from CIG's polls. If you go back in time from day one, this is one of the reasons why I even signed up for this game, why I started backing this game, was because of this one specific poll that I took, and then at the end of the poll, and this changed the direction of this game, was because of this poll. And we'll go back when Wingman's Hangar was a thing. There was a poll. And they wanted to know what your job was going to be, or what kind of gameplay you wanted. What kind of gameplay did you want from Star Citizen? Like when you were playing, what are you going to be doing? And Chris admitted that he thought everybody wanted to be a fighter pilot. He thought everybody, you know, because of how exciting that is, and you know, being a fighter pilot and all that, you know, being, what's the word I'm looking for, romanticized, you know, that you're this fighter pilot, or maybe you wanted to be a ground pounder, or maybe you wanted to be a, you know, who knows what. But he thought everybody wanted to be combat related. But what he found out was almost everyone did not want that. Go back and look at the poll. You can see it for yourself. 40%, 40, wanted to be explorers. Exploration. They didn't want to be a fighter pilot. They didn't want to be a pirate. They didn't want to be a merchant. They wanted to be an explorer. There were some pirates, there were some fighter pilots, there were some merchants, there were some other things too. But when you break it all down, very few of them wanted to be combat related, like piracy. Okay, so you can be a pirate without being PvP, don't get me wrong. Okay. I try to think that I have an open mind. I really don't. But I try to think that I do. So knowing that most players are PvE, most players don't want combat roles. They want non-combat roles. You hear about this all the time. You hear about, I want to be a salvager. I want to be a prospector, a miner. I want to be a cargo transport guy. I want to be an explorer. And they're all looking for these. Okay. But there is a vocal minority, and we'll get into that in a minute. And that's really what this video is about, because that's the observation that I just recently made. Back up. Okay, so most good MMOs have ways to limit PvP, because if it was all open PvP, the PvE players would be forced out. Basically, they will be like, man, I can't get anywhere. I'm always getting killed. You know, I'm just trying to mind my own business, and this guy keeps coming up and blowing me up. It's not that I don't like fighting, because I love fighting. I play War Thunder. I love dogfighting. Don't get me wrong. I love World of Tanks, and I love War Thunder actually has tanks, and I don't mind that. I love that. I love that competitive me against you kind of thing. But that does not relate to my character in Star Citizen. That's a completely, those are different scenarios. That's why Star Citizen has Star Marine and Arena Commander. So if you want to be that competitive guy, you can do that. That's no problem. But not in the universe. That's story driven. That's an MMORPG. Okay, but we'll get into that. All right. So other MMOs limit this because, like, there's either specific zones you have to go to PvP, and some of those games actually make it that you have to hit a certain level. They're level restricted. You can't get into those PvP zones until you hit a certain level. Why do you think that? And so what does that tell you? That tells you that you have to at least PvE up to a certain point, and then you can start going into the PvP zones. Some, like, I think Elder Scrolls, I think it was like you couldn't go into the PvP zone until you were like 20th level or something like that. And yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a three-way PvP thing, but okay, we won't get into that. Other games say that they have servers. They'll have, like, this is the role-playing server. This is the PvP server. This is the PVE server. These are all the nondescript servers. Right. There's very few of them that are PvP. Why? Because there's few PvP players. Have you ever made a character on a PvP server? There's nobody around. And the only ones that are like max level and kill you as soon as you spawn in. Those servers aren't fun. Nobody goes to those. Except for the guys that have something a little loose, and we'll get into that in a minute. Okay. Okay, so this is what I've observed. And we're going into the reason of this video. It's taken a while, right? It's like 20 minutes. And I'm sorry that I'm going to say this, but I watch some streams. I watch almost everybody's stream, especially the podcasts, you know, and I love them because I hear a lot of different variety, and sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes they'll say something that I will like, what? I didn't really? Okay, so I like watching the variety of different streams. I don't want to mention any names because I don't want to, like, you know, call anybody out or put them on blast or anything. I don't want to do that. Okay, I just want to say that some of the most popular streams out there, almost all of them, and even one of them that I thought was very, very there's a stream out there that I thought was, and this is really what opened my eyes, because I always thought this stream was extremely unbiased, right? I thought they only presented the facts, right? And this is the da-da-da-da-da. When the host of the stream was on another stream, I was like, okay, cool, you know, he's going to be there, he's going to be the real, he's going to speak it like it is. The other guys are all going to be just say their opinions, but he's going to talk like he's giving me his opinion. Right? Not giving me his opinion. He's going to speak the facts. He gave me his opinion. He gave the audience his opinion, which wasn't my opinion, right? So I immediately said he's wrong. No, that's not true. He said something like, oh, Chris, man, based on this, a week ago, there was around the verse, and Chris came out and said, yeah, if you remember the back in the day when we put out our, you know, our tenants and we told you that this is the way it's going to be, you wouldn't be upset right now. Okay, so he said it like that. And he said, man, it was very condescending, and I can't believe he actually came out and said that. He talked down to us like we were idiots and we didn't know this and stuff. And I was like, I just watched that ATV, and that's not what I heard. I didn't get that impression that he was condescending or he was trying to. I was like, why would you think this? What makes you think that he was like that? And I was like, man, I must have been half asleep when I watched. Sometimes I am half asleep. So I said, maybe I need to go back and watch it. I just watched it again today, and this is why I'm doing this video. I watched it again today, and he was not condescending. And I was like, okay, what is he saying? Let me hear exactly. Let me back this up. Let me hear exactly what he was saying. Maybe he was condescending if you really dug, or if you're a very insecure person or whatever. If you felt like he's condescending to me, I was like, really, Chris is not. He's just telling you. He's trying to give an explanation of why it's taking so long to get 3.0 out, and he was like, this is one of the reasons why, and I hope you guys aren't. Basically, I'm going to reword what he said, but he goes, I hope you guys aren't upset. It does take a while, and if you remember back in the day when we told you it was going to take a while, that's what we're doing. It's taking a while, and that's pretty much what he was trying to say. But this guy was like, no, man, this guy's condescending. He doesn't like us, and I'm like, really, really. Okay. But in these podcasts, that kind of got some of my gears turning, and I realized that these podcasts that I'm watching, almost all of them, not all of them, not him even, but most of them are PvP players. They are extremely vocal. That's why I watch them, because they're vocal, right? Because they get on the community like me. They get out here and they talk. That's why I watch them. And why are they vocal? Because they're PvP. And there's one podcast that I watch. It usually has 3 people on it. One of them is fairly new on the stream. He's the most condescending guy I've ever heard. He talks about, and I'm open-minded, and I love almost everybody. I have problems with the host of this stream, right? In the fact that he is rude to his co-hosts, right? He talks over them, and when he wants to make a point, his volume gets really loud, and he will cut you off and talk, right? That's his personality, okay? He's not a dick or anything. He's an asshole. I don't know how to explain it. But he seems like a nice guy. It's just that if I was a co-host of his, I don't think I would be a co-host very long, because of the way he talks over people, and he makes sure that his point is heard. Well, either way, he's got a new guy, and he's not new in the society, in the community or anything, but he's new on his stream. And that guy will talk down to the audience like he's superior. He's on the stream and he's like, this and this and this and this. And I'm like, the guy, you, like, if they're answering a question or something, I'm like, the guy's asking a question. It's a legit question. It might be one you've answered 100 times, but you don't need to be a dick about it. And he seems to be a dick about it. Okay, so these guys, I've noticed, I'm sorry, I'm going to different angles, but these guys, all the streamers that I've been watching, there's about 4 big podcasts that I watch, 4 or 5 podcasts, something like that I watch on a regular basis, and these guys seem to be all PvP players, except for a handful. And that's why they're out there and they're putting their wares out. Now, I have here that PvP players seem to think that their way of playing is better. Okay? Or it's more skill-based than, let's say, a PvE player. It's like, I have to dogfight. It's competitive, but I fight other players, so I've got to be better. Well, just because it's harder doesn't mean it's better. You enjoy PvP, that's fine. I enjoy PVE, or somebody else might enjoy I was using me as an example because I enjoy both. But one player might enjoy PvP, and another player might enjoy PvE. That doesn't make it better. What I think makes it better, one or the other, is that when 70% of your player base does one way and 30% or less does the other way, is it better? Or is it actually inferior? Or a less fun way? Okay, so I think, and this is part of the observation, I think that PvP players, and I'm basing this on all the conversations I've heard over the last few years, I think PvP players in Star Citizen are scared that CIG is going to limit their PvP opportunities. And so what they're doing is they're crying out like whiny little bitches. Man, CIG's not going to let me PvP on Earth. Oh my gosh, I can't go to here and there. Bro, I can't go to all of them and just shoot somebody in the head. Okay, so okay, and at the same time, the PvE players are doing what PvE players do best, and that's mind their own business. Okay, so what you have is 1,000 quiet PvE players and like 50 screaming PvP players. So who are you going to hear? You're going to hear the PvP players because they're on their streams, they're on the forums, they're posting videos, you know, they're on YouTube, they're on Twitch, whatever they're doing, they're posting they're out in the community making a noise, and those are all PvP players. PvE players are like, hey man, I'm just gonna mind my own business. I'm gonna when the game comes out, I'm just gonna mine this asteroid and I'm gonna go carry some cargo, and I don't care about those PvP players. They can raise hell all they want. And that's part of the problem, is that PvE players are kind of passive, you know? And that's so you got this aggressive group. It's I say overly aggressive group, the PvE players, PvP players, sorry. And the PvE players tend to be passive. So you only hear the PvP players. They're the ones screaming, oh my gosh, you know, everything's got to be shoot them in the face. Everything. You know, if it's not shoot them in the face, then you're a Care Bear. That's a derogatory term. Or PvEZ. Okay, so I find that derogatory. I find that insulting. Someone says you're a Care Bear. That kind of, and that's a popular term, I've heard it a few times, but specifically from that guy I was talking about. But isn't that a form of bullying? Just calling somebody names all the time? If you're always calling somebody a name, then aren't you bullying that person? I know, back in the 50s, you would just punch him in the face. But this is 2017. Can't do that. we're more mature society. So if that's the case, if we're a more mature society, why are you still living in the 50s? Why are you calling people names? You know, that's where I'm coming at. Okay. I think we should call those guys PvP rage monsters. You know, they're the guys that are raging about PvP. Okay. So in this vein, right, PvP players calling PvE players derogatory names like Care Bear or PvEZ, I think that's bullying. I really do. I think it's bullying, and I think it's what's the word I'm looking for? It underlines your insecurity with the fact that you think that PvP is superior, and that you're afraid that CIG is going to do what's best for their company and have a lot of PVE content and limit PvP. And when they do that and they're doing it wisely, and you're going to be the one that speaks up and says, that's wrong. Everything should be PvP. And that's you. Okay. Now, I've noticed that most PvP streamers, the ones, almost every streamer that I've seen that's raging about PvP, almost every one of them wants to be a criminal. That also underlines a little bit of a societal issues. You want to be a criminal. Now, I understand it's a game, and you just want to stretch your wings and say, you know, hey, I've never been a pirate. That might be fun. Let's do it. Let's be a pirate. I get that. Okay, that's not the guys I'm talking about. It's the guys that are like, man, I just want to shoot him in the face. You know, and I just watched a stream with a guy I've never seen before, and that's what he said. He says, you know, I'm in a Gladius, and I can't be beat. I'm just the greatest dogfighter in the world. You know, I have a bunch of friends. What we do is we micro analyze all the different weapons and shields, and I have the best way to knock a, you know, to disable a missile and all that stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, that's awesome. Sounds like a good player. But he was speaking like, and you know, I just enjoy killing people. He's psychologically got problems. You know? I don't know him personally. This is just based on what I've seen. Okay. So now, using piracy as an example. I'm almost done with this video, believe it or not. Using piracy as an example. Pirates want to PvP hapless PvE players. They're minding their own business, and so the PvE player is going about his own business. The PvP player wants to jump them and take advantage of them because they know it's going to be an easy score. So to me, that's thinking PvP players want it easy. And this goes back to, and I'm just going to use this as an example. Playing an evil character in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm taking a leap here. Playing an evil character in Dungeons and Dragons, to me, is like pressing the easy button. Being a PvP pirate is like pressing the easy button. If you want a challenge, if you want some difficulty in your game, you'll PvE, right? Because have you fought some of these pirates, man? They're pretty damn good. You know, these AI, and the AI is going to fluctuate. They're going to have some better, some worse, just like players. They're going to be some better, some worse. But if you're a pirate and you're always jumping that unarmed merchant ship, then are you taking the easy way out? You are. In a way, you're the lazy son of a bitch. Okay, so like the reason why I say that is, and I'm using good versus evil. Being an evil character in D&D, right? You can do things against each other, against the society. You're all. It doesn't have to be easy. It just seems like it is easy. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I'm saying that if you want to challenge, if you're a pirate, fine. But why don't you go pirate a convoy that's got a ton of escorts? And if they're all PvE, or they're all AI, I bet you it'd be a challenge. But I bet you want to be that pirate that's going to jump that hapless player that is not expecting a fight. He's just flying through your space. You're going to jump him and take his stuff. That's just being a dick. You're a dick. That's not being a... Yes, I understand that's being a pirate and everything. And you're probably saying, hey, Mr. Everything, I'm going to jump you. bring it. I plan to fight back, but I plan to be the guy that escorts merchants that want an escort. If you want an escort, call my squadron, 1st Naval Aerospace Squadron. We are the guys you call to PvP for you. Okay? I don't have a problem with PvP. I have a problem with some PvP players that are the vocal majority, you know, they're vocal minorities, and they're the ones that all they want to do is gank people. That's the ones I got a problem with. Okay, so imagine you got a PvP explorer or a merchant. They're just, what are they doing? What are they doing? They're enjoying the story. They're enjoying the world. They're enjoying the challenge of market prices and buying and selling in the right places and stuff like that. It's a totally different type of game. It doesn't mean it's wrong. I think it's harder. I think criminality is easy. And I made a video about that earlier, but I think criminality is easy. I think PVE is hard. And remember, Star Citizen will have PvP arenas. So that, you know, you're going to have your arena commander, you're going to have your Star Marine, and so that's going to satiate a lot of those PvP players. Especially when CIG says this is a legal, this is a law-abiding system. You can't just be pirating people. And there's going to be a ton of those. Now there's going to be how many are pirate systems? Do you have you looked at the star map lately? 3 out of how many? Like 50? That's about the right percentage. If you want a PvP, go to those systems and then fight it out amongst yourselves. If you're a merchant and you don't want a PvP, try not flying through those 3 systems. If you want to come into our system and do some PvP, well, then you're going to have to expect to see some advocacy, because CIG understands that the money is in PvE. They know that. It's not in PvP. All right, so that's what I have to say. If you disagree with me, that's okay. Put a comment in the comment below. That's fine. I'll read it, and if it's reply worthy, I'll reply. If you don't want to comment, that's fine. If you are just being, if you want to respond intelligently, I'll read that. If you're just being a dick or whatever, I will delete the video, delete the comment, because I know that this video can and will probably spark some heated conversations, and if it does, it will. And if it doesn't, that's fine. But what really sparked this video, and I'm going to close on this, is that you guys are taking the fact that 3.0 has taken a long time to come out, personally. Somebody has said that you did not give Chris and his crew money to get 3.0. That's not what you backed. You backed an awesome space game. 3.0 is not that game. 3.0 is just a step to that game. Do not rush that step or that progress. Don't make them rush that progress so that you can be satisfied on the short term. That's not why we back this game. We back this game for the end goal. If it's going to take a little extra time to get there, okay, that's fine. But on the flip side, I wish it was out earlier. Of course I do. I wish they could release it now and just let me play with the bugs. I don't care. I actually prefer to help, you know, but I understand that they can't just throw it out to us because they're waiting for that Delta patcher, and I get that because this patch is probably going to be huge and they don't want to And there's probably going to be a lot of iterations where they're fixing bugs as they go, and and they don't want to constantly be throwing out full patches, so they want to get that Delta patch out first. And I get that, I understand, but there are some people out there that don't understand, and when they heard Chris say that, they got all butthurt, and they had to cry about it, and it got me thinking about PvP for some reason. I don't know why. So basically, this is kind of like 2 comments in one. Alright guys, well thanks for coming out and checking out this video. I thought about doing it live, but then I couldn't. I didn't want to have a bunch of comments appearing on my screen where I was talking about the comments while I was sharing my opinion with you. Alright, so sorry, no live stream on that one. And I'll catch you next time.